states have a TBI trust fund, and we do have that, but it gets channeled to our TBI council, and they are able to provide some services like support groups and fund some agencies, but it's not for direct care. It's not for the kinds of personal care that our office does. Medicaid doesn't have specific set-aside services or supports for people with brain injuries. So this is the challenge that I've found, and I'm sure could be the reason that you're sitting here today, because you found those same challenges. Another challenge that we have is that even those facilities that have said, yes, we will serve people with brain injuries, they're challenged with trying to find caregivers that have the training, the support, the understanding, the patience to work with people with brain injuries. And so just identifying caregiving staff is a challenge for our whole system. Another challenge that we have is that we need more people to advocate for individuals with brain injuries, because often those individual survivors can't navigate on their own. So we need that advocacy, and that's sometimes hard to find. Or you might have somebody in your family or your network that's a great advocate, but they get pretty tired pretty quickly. It's really hard. It's usually a long road and kind of hard to hang in there for the long haul. So one of my wishes with these challenges is that we could do more work with the legislature for them to identify the funding supports that would be needed so that people with brain injuries don't have to get those exceptions to rule. They don't have to try to fit into settings that aren't designed for people with brain injuries. Our long-term support system is designed for an aging population. Most of our adult family homes and assisted living facilities and nursing homes, they're doing a fine job, but they're serving people that are aging, 60 and above. Well, many of the people that we're seeing coming through our front door with brain injury and sometimes with other disabilities, they're in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. And we don't have specific settings for people in that age group. So we're putting folks in their 20s or 30s in with the 70 and 80-year-olds. And I don't want to be ageist. I'm really not saying that. But there are different needs and different interests, different lifestyles, and it doesn't always fit well. So when I go to talk to adult family home owners and they're going through their licensing process, one of the things I really try to advocate for is to consider opening up their business and their home for a younger population, because we need that, and you all may find that you've needed that. So it's not within our system right now. So I'm trying to advocate through the channels I have, but we also need individual community members to continue to advocate with your public representatives and legislature, because I work for the state and I can't do that. So along those lines, with the time I have, the goals that I would have would be to identify specialized providers out there that say, yes, I want to step up and I want my adult family home, or I want my assisted living facility to serve younger people, and maybe some of them might have brain injuries, and then we could bring in the supports that those individuals would need, because we don't have specific set-aside services. That we gain more of a commitment from the public to understand better what the needs are. I think it's kind of an invisible disability often, and people just generally don't know what the challenges are in those day-to-day and then those long-term challenges. I think, again, to seek and identify additional funding. Again, the legislature does not set aside specific money for personal care services for people with brain injury. It's my personal belief that that's the mechanism that needs to happen. So I keep being a squeaky wheel, but anyway, the more voices that join, the better. And again, to encourage more grassroots. You know, you all being here today, talking to each other is great. To talk further with Danielle, who was just speaking as part of the panel. She's doing a great job accessing the legislature to figure out from her, what did you do? How did you do it? What was your messaging? Would be a great strategy and a great way to use time and energy. And then I think where the most challenges are, people with brain injuries, I always think of kind of as like a continuum. People could have mild brain injury and they're really not cognitively that different or impaired. And then you've got kind of a middle of the road. Yes, there's some impairment, but people are still functional. And then we've got folks on the other end of the spectrum that are more severely impaired and impacted, and they may have physical challenges, but most of them are cognitive and behavioral, and it's that category where I believe we really need the most help, because it's often misunderstood why those behaviors are happening and how to help support and intervene. And so I think we're doing pretty well as a state to meet that middle of the road group of people, but the folks that are more independent with a few care needs are not very well served because it looks like they don't need any help at all. And then the folks at the other end of the spectrum that have the most challenging behaviors and issues are again another area of need that I think we can do a better job. And again, anybody that wants to talk to me further about that and how to make that happen, I'm happy to do that. And then after the panel, we'll be having questions.
I just have a quick question.
Okay, a quick question, because I think I'm going over.
I also work for DSHS,
Uh-huh.
and what I find is my agency handles certain aspects of state government, not everything. And a lot of the clients that call to us, they will really help with, like you just said, you know, like adult family living or adult family homes. It's like, we strictly handle this, so like child support issues.
Oh,
And
child support.
then we have to kind of tell them to call this agency that we know that might be able to help. But what resources do you have for state employees who work in the same system? What resources do you have for those people who also have TBI symptoms themselves? Who can we refer them to?
That's a very good question because, as I said, our DSHS does not have a TBI program. So for anybody, whether you work with the state or not, it's really hard to figure out who do you talk to, who do you access. So I guess I would say at this point in time, the best point of resource could be me because I work for the state and I understand what the issues are and I'm happy to help get people directed. Sometimes I feel like you're a traffic control and that's fine. I don't mind doing that. The other thing that I just did for ALTSA is partnered with the Brain Injury Alliance of Washington, who's here today, and we rolled out training for our staff so that they could better understand brain injuries, what the challenges are, and then basically the reminder was if you're working with a client or an individual that contacts you and they have a brain injury, contact the Brain Injury Alliance of Washington to help support the person to navigate through the system.
Okay, so do you have business cards here?
I do, yes. So come on back.
You're saying there's specific injury hotline?
So this, the handout is our basic general information about services under our Community First Choice program. It's a very general, it's not TBI specific, but it lists the kind of services that we are able to offer. And then maybe at the end, maybe Nicole, when we're all done with the panel, you could maybe talk about.
And Janet can as well.
Okay.
But yeah, thanks.
So, do you wanna And
I'm gonna sit.
you're gonna sit? Okay. There you go.
I'm gonna go ahead and sit, because if I stand up, I'll probably take an hour and a half. So
And I just went over, so.
I really get moving, get to talking when I stand. So again, my name is Ryan Knudsen. Just to talk a little bit, I'm gonna be jumping in and tagging on a lot of what Betsy had to say as well. Just a little history of who we are and how we got into this a little bit. My wife, who was not able to make it, but makes everything possible. I just want to mention that to her. My wife and I, we started working with people who had challenges about 23 years ago. And we started out with an in-home child care that serves 19 children. We had Down syndrome, autism, fetal alcohol syndrome in effect, and things such as that, and helping them. And then we moved from that into a foster care program. We were one of 3 therapeutic foster homes here in Spokane County, and helping those children. They were coming from regular foster homes to where they could not handle them, and so we were the next step until they moved into group homes, and we were able to service about 60 of those children in the time that we were foster parents, and out of that, only one, I believe, actually ended up going to a group home. The rest of them were either able to go back into the foster care system and then be reunited with family. So that's kind of been our forte, and we dealt with children who were physically aggressive and sexually assaulted as well. So a lot of that has kind of been our background and our history, while at the same time raising 5 kids, and all this is in the home, so, and homeschooling them and all that other fun stuff that goes along with it. So about 10, 11 years ago, we decided that we wanted to open up a group home as well, because we just saw kind of what was out there and thought we could do something a little bit different to really help these kids. And then as we were getting into that, we saw there's really no place once they graduate from group homes to go to. So we said no family homes. And so we decided that we're going to just kind of do them both. The group home never materialized because Governor Gregoire put a moratorium on granting those contracts just about the time we were right at the last step, and then they put a stop to it during that time period. But our adult family homes still went down the track, so we started doing that. And so our goal has always been to advocate for and provide the means to empower those who we serve. That has really been our focus. We like to what I call looking at people through the realm of possibilities, through the eyes of possibilities. It's not just about what you can't do, it's what can you do, and trying to advocate for them and help them understand that there's more to life than just the challenges that they're facing. So that has been the biggest, that's kind of been our biggest perspective and our hope is to make lives better each and every single day. And so, let's see, yeah, we've been doing that. And then about 3 years ago, we were approached by a case manager here in Spokane, Amanda Zahler. She was trying to find placement for a resident who had a severe traumatic brain injury. She was a pedestrian in a motor vehicle accident, had been run over and drug about 60 feet, and just traumatic experience for her. She was living in St. Luke's hospital, not St. Luke's, Deaconess. She had been bounced back and forth. And so she lived on the 10th floor of Deaconess for about a year before they were able to contact us and said, we've tried everywhere in the state, there's no placement for her. Is this someone you're willing to take? And, met her, worked it out, and said, yeah, I'll take her, we'll do this. And so that was kind of our first foray into TBI. And she's now been with us for a little over 3 years, like I said. At first, when we got, when she came to the facility, she couldn't walk past the front door without having PTSD issues. Started turning red and having anxiety, and she's shallow breathing and everything. And now, today, she's able to walk around not only our facility, but around the block where she's in an assisted living facility as well. So, much larger population. She's volunteering at a horse ranch, and she's looking to get a job. So that's all through the realm of possibilities that we're looking at. And there's several success stories here. Seeing so many here, it's really even opened up my understanding even more. But that's our focus then. So what I really more want to talk about, so that's us. What I want to talk about is the challenges that we see through a residential care setting, a long-term care setting, and that's both in our adult family home and then also in our assisted living. And I think some of the first challenges that I want to talk about is the neurobehavioral challenges that we see in conduct and behavior, because that's probably one of the biggest ones. Normally, you went from what we would typically call a normal life, and then all of a sudden TBI happens. And you've all experienced this, you understand that you're doing things that aren't normal, what you used to do. I think Dr. Sullivan mentioned, there's some words, choice words that she started speaking that she never did before. Those things are happening, and we understand that. And sometimes it can even be in conduct. Typically, we've seen people who are a little bit more risky in their behaviors because of that impulsivity, whether that is in a sexually aggressive way or whether that is just in impulsivity, trying to get up when they can't stand, and they end up falling due to those issues. And so, what we've looked at is that residents with the TBI then have opportunities to improve if they have adequate supports. And I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges that we face, is that too often we see a lack of support. And there are groups such as Brain Injury Alliance of Washington. There's other support groups, St. Luke's has a support group, etc. But it's so, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but it's just in a reality way, it's minimal to actually what's out there that we really need to have. And we find lack of support for the residents with TBI. We find that there's a lack of support and education and training, even not only for them, but then also for providers. And that leads to misunderstandings. It leads to an unwillingness to even care for residents because they just don't know. They have no clue and have a fear of kind of like the unknown. I would say another challenge that we're having is just the proper settings that you can get the proper type of care and support to actually happen. There's just not enough homes. That's easy to talk about. There's just not enough facilities. And in an adult family home, just kind of give you a little picture of that. The majority, or the most you can have in an adult family home is 6 residents. That's all they'll allow. And so 6 residents, and I want to say there's probably about 1,300 adult family homes across the state, but I think that's only 7,800 residents that can be served, and you're fighting between dementia, mental health, developmental disabilities, plus people then who have TBI, and others, and some that are just elderly who need assistance. And that's a huge population. I'm talking with Scott Bloom. I want to say out of the Medicaid clientele, Scott Bloom is head of the TBI for Washington, is that correct?
He was the coordinator for the TBI Council,
TBI Council.
and that sponsors this conference, but he just recently